Our word for today is at. At. A-T. At. A-T. At. A says at, T says t. So the first thing it says, we saw a fish at the zoo. You can color him if you want to. But then right below we have the at. A-T, 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 A-T. And I'm going to trace each one of those. When I do my A, I make a circle, and then I make a line down. My T, I go straight down, I go back to the middle, and I go across. I go around, and now my T, I go straight down, and then across. Notice how they put a space in between each one so that you can tell where the words start. Because if I wrote my ats like that, it'd be very hard to read them. You wouldn't know if that's one word or two. So we always want to put a space in between so that we know where the word starts and where the other word begins. This is very important when we're doing sentences. A space is a spot where there's nothing written. Just like when we stand in line, we put a space in between each other so that we're not touching each other. So there's my ats. Then right down on this line, I'm going to write them. A-T. I'm going to make a space. A-T. 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 At. Then I'm going to read them. At. 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 Then I'm going to look at them and I'm going to circle my best at. I like my first one. I think my first one was the best. Which one is your favorite that you've done? Circle which one you like. The next part is that sentence that was up here. Down here again it says, we saw a fish blank the zoo. And there's two spaces. So we're going to put A in the first space and T in the next space. The word at. A-T. Then we're going to read the sentence again. We saw a fish at the zoo. Notice how I point to each of the words. That makes my brain focus on only that word and I don't get lost. We saw a fish at the zoo. That's something else that good readers do. I said the wrong word and my brain went, that doesn't make sense. So what I did was I went back to the beginning and I started the sentence over. If that ever happens to you and you read a sentence and it doesn't make sense, go back and look at each of the words. Because maybe you changed a word or maybe you don't know the word, and that's okay. But good readers, they notice that. We don't always know the word. Even as adults, some adults don't know words. There are times when I'm reading and I don't know how to pronounce a word or what it means, and I have to look it up. It happens to everyone. Then we're going to go down to the next one. Again, it says, we saw a fish blank the zoo. So what we're going to do, this time instead of having boxes, they just have the lines. You're going to write A in the first line and T in the second line. A-T. You could cut these out on the bottom and glue them into the boxes, but I found a lot of people don't want to cut them because they're so tiny, and we can get them lost and things like that. So writing it in here is okay. Then at the last part, we're going to write that sentence. We saw a fish at the zoo. So when I write the word we, I start with W. W is capitalized because it's at the beginning of the sentence. So we start at the top, we go all the way down to the bottom, we go back up, go down, go back up. And then E, we is W-E. So there's we. And then I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to make a space so that I'll know where we ends and saw, or the S in saw starts. S-A-W. We saw. You can tell that those are two words because there's a big space in between. And then the next word is A. A is just A. A is a vowel, it is a letter, and it is a word. Now, we've talked about I. I is a vowel, a letter, and a word. When we look at I, it's always capitalized. You see it anywhere in a sentence, it will be capitalized. A is not like that. You can have the word A be lowercase, like I wanted a apple. Actually, that would be an. I wanted a dog. So that A is going to be lowercase, or we saw a fish at the zoo. A is lowercase. It doesn't have to be capitalized in the middle of the sentence. It shouldn't be capitalized in the middle of the sentence. But if I said a fish was at the zoo, A would be the first letter in the first word. It would be the only letter in the first word. You capitalize it. So A can be both lowercase and uppercase, even in a word. We saw a fish. F-I-S-H. Space, and then at, A-T, space, the. And so I'm at the last end of this sentence and I don't have room. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over to this way. Remember, we read left to right, then we go back to left. So I'm going to put it right over here. Z-O-O, zoo. We saw a fish at the zoo. And then I'm going to put a period because they're not super excited about it. They didn't put an exclamation mark. They just said, we saw a fish at the zoo. If it was a really cool fish, they could have done an exclamation mark. But then it would have been, we would have thought it or said it like, we saw a fish at the zoo. But they're just, maybe they saw a lot of fish and it wasn't that exciting. So they're just saying, we found a fish at the zoo. Good job.